Hello everyone, Burb here. Today we are going to talk about Haru Urara New Year, whose banner was just released alongside the New Year's event. This is a series where I just try and explain the entirety of a character's kit in a way that's probably a little too deep than absolutely necessary. So let's begin. If you're pulling on this character, it's probably because you really like the character, and that's perfectly fine. I'm going to give you a little bit more validation. Pull for the characters that you like. It will keep you playing the game more than anything else in this game. The only caveats to that is one, you need to be following some sort of pull plan. So you need to make sure you have a plan in place that you will have enough carrots, 30 to 60,000 carrots, for support cards that will help you actually reach your goals. So if your goal is to win champions meetings, you need to make sure you are pulling on the banners that will assist you in that endeavor. If you are a casual player, you need to at least have support cards enough to clear careers consistently. So whatever your goals are, make sure you have a pull plan in place and follow that pull plan. That's the hardest part, is following the pull plan. There is a second caveat, which is that there is a selector ticket in about a month. This may not be the best banner or the best character to use it on, because this also comes with Tiamat O New Year's. And when a banner has two characters on it, especially when a character like Tiamat O New Year, who's actually a pretty good parent later on in the game, you actually may enjoy having both of the characters. When that is the case, the banner's value actually goes up, because if you get unlucky, you most likely, if let's say Haru Urara doesn't come home in the first 100 pulls, you probably have Tiamat O. So you got both characters and they're both good, right? They're both characters that you wanted. The other thing is if she comes home late, like at pull 170, you can just pull the 30 extra pulls and get the other character. So your pity is actually somewhat useful. Whereas most banners, if you pull the character late, it's just kind of, do I really want this character 4-star? Is it worth the 7,500 extra gems? And a lot of times it's not really worth the carrots, right? So you can consider using just the pull ticket if you do not have enough leeway in your pull plan. But if you have enough leeway in the pull plan, it may be better to use that if you use the ticket on other characters, if you have other characters that you also want on those pull tickets. Okay, so let's begin into the actual kit itself. She is a dirt racer true, and she's a dirt short mile late end closer. So that's really, if you synthesize it down, this is what Cygames intended her to be. If you've done the Arima Keenan challenge, you should know that 10 sparks will get her turf to C, and you have to trust pink sparks to actually proc to get her to A or S in order to actually give her a chance in the turf races if you decide to stretch her. Now, she also has some of the lowest affinity in the game, because Haru Urara did not win any G1 races, or G2 or G3s for that matter, and so you will really have to purpose build your parents in order to have affinity with themselves, because she is not really going to help the affinity number increase. It is probably the worst number in the game, to be perfectly blunt. So you're needing 2+ pink sparks on a character that doesn't help you at all with aptitude. So if you're wanting to run her turf at all, you really have to enjoy the character. So those types of people will go through all that effort to put her on tracks where she normally isn't good on. But for the rest of us, she is a dirt racer, tried and true, in the dirt shorts, the dirt sprints, dirt miles, and a late surger and an end closer. Okay. Her ultimate, the game says, give max effort when far from the lead on the final corner, moderately increasing velocity steadily for a duration proportional to distance from the lead. For the first time ever, this actually is a very good description. It just doesn't have any punctuation, which is why it sounds really, really bad. So let's break it down to its actual conditions. Well, are you on the final corner or later? Is it a corner? And are you more than 7 meters away from the front? That's really what this condition comes down to. If you actually go and succeed in those conditions, it'll proc and you'll give you 0.25 target speed for a scaling duration, which we will talk about. So base duration 5 seconds, and we'll go from here. So what does this look like? This is Tokyo 1600 meter dirt. This will be the Aquarius Cup. Is final corner equals 1 means it's pretty much any time after the final encountered corner on the race closest to the end point, or the finish line. So just as final corner 1, we'll be able to proc anytime after corner 4 in this case to the end of the race. However, corner not equal to 0 means it has to be a corner. So this is the place where it will proc. Notably, on this track in particular, it is possible for it to proc late and then speed carry over into the accel zone. So that makes it almost 5 times as effective as we talked about in our speed carryover video, because its duration essentially is completely moved until the acceleration is done. All right. The final one, which is distance diff top 7, talks about the distance in between you from the furthest position forward horse or the leader, right? So 1 horse length is 2.5 meters. So in order to get a proc, you have to be at least 3 horse lengths away. So 3 times 0.25 is 7.5 meters. This only deals in whole numbers, so that counts as 7, which means that your target speed will increase and it will proc at 3 horse lengths. Its maximum value, because it has scaling, between 0.8 and 1.8 second, or 1.6 times duration of the base 5 seconds, is based on the distance between you and the leader. We've gone through integrals on this channel. We've gone through control systems on this channel, but it's the first time that we have to talk about the scariest math topic of them all, basic algebra. So at the max duration, it says it scales linearly, and the max duration is 8 seconds at 50 or more meters. So how far away is 50 or more meters? Well, that is 20 horse lengths. If you divide it 50 by 2.5, you get 20 horse lengths. Notably, end closers like to hang out about 10 horse lengths away from the lead, right? And if you just do the math, 5 times 1.6 is 8 seconds, so that kind of tracks as if it's a linear distribution of distance. So doing the math, the minimum one, so if you are exactly 7.5 meters away or 3 horse lengths away, well, if you look here, the difference between the maximum duration 8 and the minimum duration 4 is 4 seconds, right? So 1.6 minus 0.8 is 0.8 total. So your scaling number is 0.8 difference over a difference of 4 seconds, right? 50 meters is the difference between the max and the min. So if you take 4 seconds of possible added time, and then you divide it by the 50 meters of the different crenulations, essentially, the different places where your UMA could be, you get 0.08 seconds per meter. So every meter behind the leader you are, you gain 0.08 seconds of duration. So if you take 7 meters, which is the length, because it's only whole numbers, times 0.08 seconds per meter, and you add the base duration of 4 seconds, you get 4.4 seconds as a minimum proc. Woo, math. All right. So the breakpoint I like to look at is actually 6 seconds, and that is because this is a gold chip alt. If you've looked at anchors away, it is a 0.25 for 6 seconds. There's a couple caveats to that we'll talk about later, but for the algebra of it is 4 plus 0.08, which is our rate of seconds per meter, x, which is the distance in meters from the leader, and then equals the 6, which is the gold chip threshold. So your answer you're trying to find is 6. Well, what do? Well, you move it over. 6 minus 4 is 2 seconds. 2 over 0.08 is 25 meters or 10 horse lengths, which is exactly where end closers like to start from before they get pace down, right? So in general, if you're running her end and you don't get massive wit rolls, well, you will generally have a gold chip alt. Now, it is technically a little better than a gold chip alt, because although gold chip does have a little piece of zone where, like, let's say it's 5 seconds, it would be, hers would be 5 seconds and yours would be 6 seconds, but anchors away really only can proc in most times just the exact corner rate. This one has the chance, if you're outside of range by coming too close, which are actually, so let's just say this, you roll ridiculously high wit on a downhill track like this one, right? You go into like second or third place, you're right up there with the leader, and then you get paced down at the very end, right? Or you roll a bad wit check if you're in the late race. Well, if you're in the late race and you roll that bad wit check, you're actually going to proc it much later than how anchors away would. Because anchors away has to go all the way into 4th or 5th, you only have to go until 3 horse lengths away. So when that happens, you're going to have the possibility of speed carryover. So it's a little bit better than gold chip alt. In addition, if you're actually in the front, the other option is that if you're actually only 3 horse lengths to win, and say let's 3rd place, you actually will get some value at 4.4 seconds, even though it's weaker, right? This is still a white, like better than a white skill. You'll get a 4.4 second 0.25 speed, where gold chips alt will not proc at all in that case. So there's some things that make it actually better than anchors away, especially since it is still a mid-race speed skill. Okay, so there's the math. The problem is that this is really not inheritable, because the game completely nerfs it when you actually put it onto any other UMA. Because if you take this It is a 3-second target speed increase of 0.05. That is 5 times worse than the actual target speed, which is actually the same exact thing that stops anchors away from being on every single end closer. Just going to grab some water real quick. So let's talk about her skills. That was her ultimate. It's a pretty good ultimate, to be perfectly honest. Basic one's Unyielding Spirit is an overtake skill on Mile. That's pretty good. She comes with 2 greens. So Snowy Days is good on snow tracks, and Long Shot is good if you're not the fourth, if you're the 4th favorite or worse, right? So there's really not much analysis to that. The greens are good when they proc, and they're not when they don't. Notably, the Aquarius Champions meeting is going to be firm sunny, so it won't have snowy, unfortunately. But you can always put Long Shot on her. Her recoveries are a little bit tough because Shake It Out is Shake It Out is a skill that happens on late race, and it's very possible it happens after the spurt calculation itself. And when that happens, if you're Uma, there's basically 2 ways that if you don't have enough stamina that can happen. So it either will spurt late, which is bad in this case because it'll wait until it can have enough stamina to go for, or it'll pick a track where it'll pick a line where it just spurts early enough but then dies out at the end. In that second scenario, Shake It Out actually works because it'll give you the bonus stamina required. The second anniversary patch where they make late race stamina skills become speed bursts hasn't happened yet, I don't believe. Someone can correct me on that. So that is a situation where it does help, but if your Uma decides it's faster to and it rolls high on weight and decides it's faster to just wait on the spurt, it's not going to affect anything. So that's why Shake It Out's not the best recovery skill in the game. Pace strategy is a little bit better because it has an awkward activation of being passed, right? But as long as you're not like the only late surger, generally someone's going to pass you at some point in the mid-race, so it's kind of reliable, but not really, right? Either way, these are 2 white recovery skills, and she's mostly a mile and a sprint racer, so most of these will not see very much use, but they are there. So let's talk about her 2 gold skills. Center Stage is a navigation, lane movement, speed skill. Greatly increased navigation early race. It's a little bit tough because lane movement, the only real good thing that's for is dodging end closers that proc Uma stand, and then actually basically grab you when they pace down themselves and pull you to the back of the pack. Lane movement speed does help against that, but not really much else as far as I found. Hard Worker, being a winning ticket player myself, as much as Hard Worker looks really fancy, honestly, the best thing it does is it kind of helps when other characters, again, have Uma stand because they will go in front of you and then they will pace down themselves, you'll pass them, and then you will essentially get a minor, not as good Uma stand proc. Very niche. How this skill actually works is that the first time on the race that the game calculates that you are running faster than another character and have enough speed to pass them within the next 15 seconds, it will proc this one. So hypothetically, even though it's an acceleration skill, it most times will proc in the early race, which is somewhat useful, but really it's not. The main reason for both these skills to take them is they are super cheap. Usually it's in CMs, it's not worth it to take either of these past white, but in team trials, they have base cost 120. So they're 240 skills, which are basically almost bigger picture level of team trials point output. So you put these 2 with the welfare Dober card, and you have 3 skills that cost you a total of 500 points between the 3 of them after hints and stuff, and you're just kind of just getting as many team trials points as possible. So this is a decent team trials Durduma, surprisingly enough. All right, CM viability. This is Aquarius Cup, as we said. Aquarius Cup, this previous one was actually Chukyo 1200, I'm pretty sure. But Aquarius Cup, if it's looking familiar, it's because it is the same as Chukyo 1200, except for they added 200 meters here, they added 200 meters here, and this is Tokyo. So this is Tokyo dirt, so it essentially has a downhill here that doesn't extend the whole way, rather than Chukyo just has the downhill all the way to the uphill, and the uphill timing is different. So it's very similar to the Chukyo 1200 we're currently doing, but essentially there really isn't much analysis here. She is a very track agnostic Uma, which kind of goes with the whole, if you want to force her, because her ultimate will always proc on the final corner past, right? And usually that is in either the mid race or the late race, so it usually has some sort of viability, right? And then her skills just kind of always work to the very little effect that they do. Like long shot will always work sometimes, and hard worker or fighter you kind of works in the early race, but most times you're not picking it anyways. So she doesn't really give you much towards the Aquarius Cup, except she has a good ultimate. And if you force her into any other CM, it's kind of the same way. So feel free to run her in Aquarius Cup. If you want to force her, go ahead. And that's really going to be what probably some people do. So if you are crazy about Urara, you can force Turf G to Turf A, and she doesn't really give you any help whatsoever. But if you somehow make it, Blue Explosions can give you the skills you need. That's really the entirety of the analysis for this character. So in conclusion, pull for this character if you enjoy her and you can follow her pull plan. She does come alongside a very good character, TM Opera O, New Year's as well, who becomes apparent later. I will have a video on her, but if you're pulling for her, good luck on your pulls. This has been Burb out.